Welcome back to the King's Corner, the place for all things Bethesda. I am the KingFanMan with a Bethesda news update. Both Todd Howard and Pete Hines have been very busy in the last week, with Todd Howard making a surprise appearance at the Apple event to show off the new Elder Scrolls Blades on the iPhone, and then Pete Hines doing an interview with GameCentral. We didn't learn much from Todd Howard, except that there will be dragons in Blades. Yeah, that's a pretty big deal. He still said the release date is this fall, so we will continue to wait. And I don't know about you guys, but I am super excited about Blades, a free-to-play game that looks better than Skyrim and plays like a dream. And remember, I speak from experience. In fact, if you want to know more about Blades, I will put a link to my full review down in the description below. And if you're interested at all in Blades, I do suggest you watch it. Alright, let's move on to Pete Hines because we have a lot to cover, and a full link to the interview will be down in the description below. GameCentral started the interview by making a very powerful statement. You must have been pleased with how E3 went. I think most people agreed you had the best show. Now, I thought they had the best E3 show, but I'm a fan man. It's great to hear someone in the media say that everyone agrees that Bethesda had the best E3. Now, that is certainly good after so many were disappointed with Bethesda's E3 last year. But don't get me started about last year. Remember, even with fans' disappointment, they still went on to be the Publisher of the Year, along with having the best first-person shooter of the year. But it is much better to have fans recognize all the hard work and the great games. Speaking of that, what a great lineup Bethesda rolled out this year at E3. Fallout 76, Starfield, Elder Scrolls 6, Rage 2, Doom Eternal, and Wolfenstein Youngblood, just to name a few. Then they asked Pete Hines about Starfield and the Elder Scrolls 6, about why they announced them and them being so far away. And Pete Hines confirmed again it was to reassure the fans that they were committed to single-player games for the near and the long-term future. We felt that with Fallout 76 that it was important to have the context of, well, here's what else they're working on. So we could say, look, the next thing they're doing is Starfield. It's a single-player role-playing game. We don't want folks assuming, well, they're making a game like this with 76, so all future Bethesda Game Studios games are going to look like 76. We wanted to be able to show a roadmap to say, no, the next thing is going to be single player, and it's going to be a new IP. The interviewer then talked about single player games and said, so you touched there on single player games, which obviously Bethesda is very closely associated with, and it increasingly feels like it's only you, Sony and Nintendo, that still make big budget ones on a consistent basis. If it wasn't for you three, it would be indie games and then just scraps from the table. And then Pete Hines responded, it is certainly something that we feel is important, and it is always going to be a part of what we're doing. I mean, we're here, we've got Rage 2, we've just announced Doom Eternal, we've just put out DLC for Prey, there's Elder Scrolls Blades, it's single player. But it also includes an online component. Single player is an important part of who we are, but we're also willing to have Bethesda Game Studios say, we get asked about online and multiplayer, and we want to try and do a multiplayer version of our kind of games. Then there was some pretty big news for you Wolfenstein and Dishonored fans. First, the new Wolfenstein game is called Wolfenstein Youngblood, and it doesn't follow the normal story of the hero BJ, and I can't pronounce his last name ever, but the new story follows his two twin daughters, and it can be played co-op. It is a very exciting new addition to the series, plus it adds being able to play with a friend. But there are still many that want to know what happens with BJ. The interviewer from GameCentral was one of them. He asked Pete, ultimately, I just want you to guarantee that there will be a Wolfenstein 3, because I want to see how it ends. And Pete Hines answers, yeah, sure, absolutely, we're making a Wolfenstein 3. They said on stage that they are taking a break from the larger story to do this thing, Youngblood, but we all have to see how it ends. Now, I don't want to read too much into Pete Hines' answer, but he didn't say we will make a Wolfenstein 3. He said we are making Wolfenstein 3, meaning it's probably already at least in pre-production. So be of good cheer. The real Wolfenstein shall return. And it appears the same may be true for the Dishonored series as well. Pete Hines hinted that Dishonored will not be resting for the future, that there will be another Dishonored sometime in the future. He also said that Bethesda is committed to the Prey series, even though the sales figures for Prey were not as good as some of their other games. Then toward the end of the interview, they started talking Fallout 76 and the stacked fall lineup of games and the competition that Fallout 76 will have to go up against. And that is a great point. How good will Fallout 76 do? But if Bethesda is worried, then Pete Hines sure is not showing it. He said, I feel like I had these same conversations when we released Skyrim in November of 2011. Now that is great confidence to compare Fallout 76 with Skyrim. Hopefully it will have the same type success that Skyrim had. Finally, the interview ended with a subject that just has to come up in a gaming interview these days: microtransactions and games as a service. But Pete Hines answered everything just the way Bethesda fans would want him to answer. The first question, will Fallout 76 have loot boxes? Pete Hines' answer, no. What about Rage 2? Pete Hines' answer, Rage 2 will have no microtransactions. Question number 2, and this one is huge, guys. Fallout 76 being a game as a service, how long do you envision it lasting? Pete Hines' answer, forever. Forever? The interviewer was obviously taken back, and Pete Hines answered, I'm not being ironic, like forever. Because other people have said, is your timeline 2 years or 5 years? And I said, well, they're still playing Morrowind, and it's 16 years old. And you go online and look at how many people are still playing Fallout 4 and Skyrim. Those games have been out for 4 years and 7 years. And there are literally hundreds of thousands of people playing those games every single day, every single month. So Fallout 76's timeline, our timeline, is in perpetuity. Wow. So how are they going to maintain a game forever? Well, Pete Hines goes on to say, now what that content is going to be and what it's going to look like, I'm not sure. Part of our thing is we need to get people in the game and see how they respond. We've even taken this approach for our past DLCs. I don't know if you remember Fallout 3, but the big consumer reaction when we launched that game was that they were all upset that it had an ending. And we were like, well, all the previous games had an ending, and we were thought that we were sticking to what the franchise was. But they didn't want that, so we came out with a DLC that let it continue. So with Fallout 76, it's going to be like, we have some ideas for this and that, but let's see what people want more of. Let's see what they respond to and support that. So in other words, Pete Hines says, we have a vision, but we want to see what people are wanting and what people are liking, and that's where we're going to go with the game. There you have it. That's a lot of news from Bethesda, and most of it was good news. News about Blades, news about Wolfenstein, Dishonored, and forever for Fallout 76. That's exciting, and if they continue to give that new content for forever, that is super exciting for me. Well, I hope you enjoyed all that news, and I'm going to continue to bring you Bethesda news. So thank you for getting your news right here at the King's Corner. Remember, all those links are down below. If you want to read that article, it's down in the description. Also, my review of Blades is down in the description as well, along, of course, with my Facebook and my Twitter and my Patreon, if y'all want to look at that at all as well. I am the King Fan Man, and by the way, if you're not subscribed, go ahead and do that as well. I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.